but your decisions and how you act is keeping you in that same spot.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
That's so good, dude.
So nothing is going to change unless you change. And the only way you change is learning from your mistakes and being sick of making the mistakes. So just like the gym, when we go to the gym, I always encourage everyone to go, because sooner or later you're going to be sick of failure. You're going to get sick of it. So just keep trying, keep failing, and then sooner or later your direction is more important than the results.
Wow. Say that again for the listeners.
Your direction is more important than the results.
Wow.
So it's more important that you're in the gym or you're trying to be a good person, you're learning. It's more important that you're on that path and you have effort.
3. What's up, everybody? Welcome to The Brim. I am excited for this episode. I have one of my dear friends, Matt Foreman. Man, I could start everywhere, man. A genuine, real, kind, respectful, pure soul. Just the example you want to have as a father figure, as a friend, as a mentor, as a personal trainer. We have Matt Foreman with us, but I'm going to let him introduce himself. Matt, can you introduce yourself to the listeners and viewers?
Thanks for the intro, Mo. I really appreciate that. You're too kind. I don't even know where to start, really. So my name is Matt Foreman, born and raised in Fort Dodge, Iowa, which is a tiny little town in northwest Iowa. Do you want to do like a whole story, or
however you want to introduce yourself? We want to flow with it. We want to just talk. And
yeah. I mean, long story short, married to my wife is Candace Foreman, and we have 3 wonderful boys, and they keep me super busy. So
they keep you super. Hey, so I met Matt through coaching high school football. I met Matt. His son plays at the high school here where we live at, and we were at the football field one day, and I was walking kind of sore because I was trying to get back into the gym and lifting, and my legs were sore. And Matt was asking if I was good or something in that phase, and I was like, "Yeah, man, I just did some lower body. My legs are hurting, and I'm just sore." And he's like, "Hey, I'm finishing up a CrossFit gym in my garage. When I'm done, do you want me to hit you up and so we could start working out?" And me and my craziness was like, "Yeah, for sure. Let's go work out."
Right.
And very few people do what he did next, which was hit me up right after he said he was going to be done doing it. Because obviously, I don't know about you guys, but a lot of people procrastinate when it comes to building their own home gym. So I was surprised that he hit me up to actually work out. And when I show up, man, he whooped my butt. But Matt Foreman, he's an amazing individual, like he said. So I want to ask you a question now that you introduced yourself and said
Definitely.
who you are. So who are you? When I say Matt Foreman, who do you see yourself? Who are you?
I see myself more as a student. I believe that's the first thing. Someone that's always ready to learn. Someone that's made plenty of mistakes.
That's good.
And not only do I own it, because sometimes it's hard, but that's part of being a person and not being stubborn, even though I am extremely stubborn. So I think on the base level, a student that's always ready to learn and always wanting to be there, trying to be there in the moment. Whether it's with my wife and kids or with this moment, I'm being a student and trying to be more present in the moment. So.
I like that. A student. I like that. So where do you think that comes from? That mindset of being a student. Being a student. Where do you think that came from?
It came from many years of being arrogant.
Oh, wow. Wow. I want to pop. If you ever want to become a student again, do what Matt just did. He said, I recognized I was being a certain way.
Yeah, it was.
That's good.
It took a long time and a lot of reflecting and to realize it, because I denied it for a long time. So, and I just plateaued out. I thought I was really good at what I did. I thought I was already achieved what I was going to achieve, to where I plateaued out. I stopped getting better, and people around me surpassed me. And it was a reality check to where I realized that to be a good person is more about the process than results. So
that's so good.
So that's where the student mindset kind of came in.
So were you just arrogant in life or arrogant in what you did, and then that kind of like in that process of arrogance, you kind of like checked yourself, or was it more of like?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of a long brewing. Growing up, I wasn't always the fastest. I wasn't always the strongest. I wasn't always the funniest, etc. To where I looked in the mirror and I told myself that you're the best. No one can stop you. Kind of trying to build that self-confidence that wasn't ever there. I didn't know what else to do, to where I kept telling myself, and that inner ego just kept growing and growing, and I couldn't stop it.
Wow.
If that kind of makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. So like you kind of like just told yourself all these, not lies necessarily, but you thought it was like benefiting you, but it in the way that it was benefiting you, it was kind of like an arrogant way, because it made you think higher than.
Yeah,
Wow.
It was turning into poison. My energy was almost like turning into poison.
And what took you to like realize that your energy was becoming poison rather than becoming life? Was it a life situation? Was it something you experienced? Because I love where this is going so far right now. I love, thank you for being vulnerable and being real, because this is what To The Brim is growing in excellence and growing in life, and by life lessons and applying principles to our lives. So what was it like? Like, did you at a point in your life you hit like rock bottom, or was it that your loved ones told you? Was it somebody that told you, or was it like yourself? Like, you're like, dude, I'm killing myself drinking this arrogant poison.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was one event. It was kind of just like the straw that broke the camel's back. It's kind of scenario. Just a lot of things were piling on. More mistakes were happening, and I was starting to fail a lot more.
Wow.
So, yeah, like I said, it was just a compiling of a lot of events that happened in my life in one certain time frame that made me step back and not like who I was becoming.
Wow. And the reason why I'm asking this, obviously, is because I want people to know that when we film these episodes, this is not staged, this is not scripted.
Right.
This is just real conversation. And the reason why I'm so interested to knowing is because he is the complete opposite, to my knowledge, of somebody who's arrogant. You're the first to help. You're the first to serve. In fact, here at the church, we were removing asbestos tile and we needed to lay carpet, and you and Zach and Kendall came out and helped me lay this carpet, and it was so selfless. So to me, is hearing you say that story to me is like, what? Like, were you arrogant? You're like the least person I would have ever thought struggled with anything like that. So it's cool, like, to hear your story like that.
Yeah, just who I was isn't who I am now.
Come on.
But I think everyone is like that. I made a lot of mistakes that helped me become who I am today. But just because I made the mistakes doesn't make me a bad person now.
That's good. That's so good. Say that again. Say that again for the listeners.
Just because I made the mistakes doesn't make me a bad person.
Come on. So you give yourself permission to have mistakes, because
I think that's the most important thing in life is being able to be vulnerable and taking chances regardless of the result.
I agree. I think 100%. I think in order to become a better individual, you have to accept your shortcomings, your falls, because it makes you better. It makes you grow.
Yeah.
Growing in excellence is getting back up, finding a way to get better at what you do. What I want the viewers to know about you is you're definitely a student, but I see you as also a teacher. I know in the gym, when we work out, you're constantly dropping, I call them golden nuggets of wisdom and knowledge. And he's constantly saying certain statements that you might not know it, but at times I need them, and people that are in the gym with us need them. So I think it's amazing to know that comes from being a student in life. And it's something that I honor from you. Like, it's something that I'm like, wow, I'm so taken back at the fact that your story is not of, I'm great, I always had it all like together. Like, you're like, nah, I was arrogant. Life got to me, you know what I mean? And I became a student of life. And because I became a student, I am able to to walk in wisdom, and I respect that about you a lot, man.
Man, I really appreciate your kind words.
So I got a question for you. Who were you before being who you are now? Which we kind of answered it.
Yeah. Well, just growing up, I never really fit into groups. I played sports, but I didn't really fit into that jock category. I played music, but I wasn't really in the band. I didn't really fit in with those guys. I was in clubs, but I didn't really fit in with those guys. So I was kind of just like a traveler growing up. And I traveled between groups, and I was just kind of like the third wheel almost all the time. But I absorbed as much information, and I was almost yearning to I wanted to always be accepted by these groups, but I never truly was. You know, I always felt like the outcast everywhere I went. So I guess growing up, before I am today, I was just kind of like a drifter or a traveler that just, you know, never really fit in, and I focused all my energy on wanting to fit in, on other people that didn't really care about me. Wow. But I didn't really know that at the time. At the time, I thought I was selfish, and I thought that, they're going to care about what I wore today. They're going to care about, you wore those jeans, you know, twice this week, or, you know, something ridiculous.
Yeah, because back then, the validation was trying to find it in a group and relationships and
yeah.
When was it? When was that moment that it hit you like life is more than trying to fit in?
Man, so I think that I've already had multiple changes in my life. It wasn't just I've during my school age time, I had a change, and then during the military, I had a change. I met my wife, I had a change. So I have had multiple changes in my life, you know. So that question's kind of hard to answer, because I've had multiple times where I've had a reality check, like you're doing something dumb right now. You need to change.
Yeah, because you never really arrive.
No, exactly, right.
Like there's no such thing as I arrived in life, now I am the perfected version of Matt Foreman. I get that, I see that, and which makes sense why you say I'm a student of life. That because it is true. Like you never really arrive. You're constantly growing and developing. You mentioned you were in the military.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, Matt served in the military. So thank you for your service. Thank you for how much has the military impacted you?
Tremendously, in both positive and negative ways. It's other than marrying my wife and having children, obviously that's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. It drastically changed the trajectory of my life.
Wow.
Which is a good thing. The military is not for everybody, but they do teach you very, very good core skills and morals. That just discipline alone is great. I think everybody needs to have some form of discipline, because you're not born with it. And just because you see someone have discipline and you try to mimic it, it doesn't work like that. You have to live it. You have to do it. You have to not be forced into it, but you have to have that discipline every single day, and just to understand what it is.
And you think the military helped you grow in that discipline area in life?
100%.
I think if anybody says that our military doesn't teach discipline, I think they probably don't know what military it is. Or
Right.
One of the things I will say about you as well is you are a very disciplined. You are a very disciplined individual. If you guys don't know, Matt runs Informer Fitness here in Independence, Kansas, and he's a personal trainer, trains people, and he gets us guys up. It's probably like 5 of us, 5 o'clock in the morning, sets up a workout for us. Not only that, but he's disciplines us in finishing the workout. He reminds us of, hey, what's the bigger picture? So that's so true. I love what you said about discipline, because I think a lot of times people think that discipline is just something you naturally are born with, right? Like it's like a gift.
Yeah,
Like,
you have to be taught it, definitely, or you have to go through the fire yourself. In the military, they give you a very good foundation of discipline that you can grow off of.
Wow.
So,
and I see that in you, man. You're a very disciplined person.
I appreciate that.
The way you do things.
Very cool.
And the reason why I wanted you on To The Brim is because I admire how you do everything. I admire how you set up the gym, how you, last year when you weren't coaching at the football team, the year before that, but you still showed up to the games, you showed up to track meets, and you had the tent out for the kids, and you had Gatorades and water, and it's just a symbol of excellence. Like, you always did things to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
Like, in moments where you weren't obligated to do things the right way, you still did them the right way. And it's something that I always told my wife about you. I'm like, man, he's such a pure soul. Like, he's just so real. He's so genuine. And the way you did things speaks so much life to me, because it's an aim as a man that I want to have. That when people see me do something, they say, wow, he's doing things with excellence. He's doing things with a standard. And I think you do that really well, whether it's with friendships, whether it's with the gym, whether it's coaching, because now you coach high school football. I think you do things so well with excellence. And now that I hear you talking about the military has played a big role creating that discipline, and hearing your perspective of discipline, that is not something you're born with, but it's something that you're taught and you learn as you grow. So do you aim for excellence, or do you aim for perfection? Do you aim to be perfect, or do you aim to do things with excellence?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question that is difficult to answer, because, does every football team in America strive for perfection? Yes.
Yeah.
But I think perfection builds off of excellence, because you can't have perfection without excellence. But is there anything that's really perfect in this world? Right. There's perfection in the imperfections, definitely. But having a good direction and that points you in excellence is probably where I'd land in that answer.
On the excellence part?
Yeah.
And I agree. Like I said earlier, like I was stating, you guys, if you guys ever have the opportunity to work with Matt or meet Matt, you'll see it. It's clear as day. Like, the way you handle your business, the way you do what you do is you do it with excellence. I knew you were going to say excellent because I know you personally, but for the viewers, I love the wisdom you just shared there. Like, do people aim to be perfect? Of course, but you have that realization that nobody's perfect. Right.
Well, you're perfect in who you are, right? Like, specifically football, because we both play football, right? There's certain mechanics that you have to have foundationally to be a good football player, but the God-given gifts that you have, you can make those, that's your perfect, right? And that might take you to the league. That might take you to D1 football, right? So just because it's on paper not perfect, but it's the best that you can do. So is that technically perfection? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's the best that you can do it. You've perfected it to your body's capabilities.
Yeah, because you're pushing it to the ability that you could do it, and you're not, which leads into back to the excellence part. Like, you're doing it in excellence because you're doing it to the best of your ability. You're doing it as well as you can, to the perfection of the imperfection you are. It's like to your limit of how to do something. So I got a question for you. Obviously, we know as a career you were in the military. So I want to ask you a question. What do you do for a living? So here in To The Brim, I ask this question, which is, a career is something that supplies income for you. And what you do for a living is, what do you do to enjoy the life you have? What do you do to enjoy the time you have here on earth? So what do you do for a living? Now that we know you served for our country, and which you did for 13 plus years, correct?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah. We'll get into that later. Yeah. But what do you do for a living? What does Matt Foreman... What do the Foreman family do for a living?
Yeah, so I'm completely out of the military now, and I'm going back to school.
Hey.
So I'm just trying to further my education and be a better person. Kind of like learning a new language. If no one's forcing you to do it, you say I have discipline all the time, but I lack discipline in certain areas.
Yeah.
So like learning a new language, if I don't have a test on Friday, I'm not going to study it, So I have to go to school. I have to have someone kind of telling me these are the due dates. These are the things that need to get done at this time. And that's helping me further my education. So I'm furthering my education. I'm using the GI Bill, so I'm getting financial aid because of that. And I'm spending time with my family and supporting my family because the military has taken so much away.
Wow.
So everything, the military is great, and I love it, and I volunteered for it, and it's something that I really enjoy doing. But they took everything from me and more. Everything I was willing to give, that they took and wanted more. To where if it was just me, I would have loved it. I enjoyed it, and I would have given my life if asked for. They wouldn't even have to ask. Like, I would have done it. But my wife and my kids deserve for me to be there physically and mentally.
Wow.
So now I'm prioritizing my kids and my family, trying to figure out this jigsaw puzzle of being emotionally and physically present. Because when I would come home from deployments, I was physically home, but I wasn't emotionally home. And it was hurting my family more and more and just creating this huge wedge in between us. And I was denying it at first. I was almost wishing to go back sometimes, like, as horrible as that sounds. Like, I would rather be in a combat zone.
Wow.
Because that's easy. I just have to keep the guys alive and keep myself alive, right? At home, I have to decipher these emotions, what to say, when to say it, how to say it. You're a dad, you're a husband, you're a father. Yeah. The amount of communication that the kids and wife deserve, I was well below par. Well below.
The intentionality it takes, to be more intent.
And the more deployments I went on, the worse it got. To where everyone that was still in when I was in was either getting divorced or their kids didn't treat them like a father anymore.
Wow.
My kids would walk right by me when I was home and ask my wife for something.
Wow.
Like, can I go outside and play? Like, I'm sitting right here. Why don't you ask me? Can I play video games? They would walk right by me and ask my wife.
Wow.
So I was just physically there and I wasn't emotionally there. And then the discipline was so strict or it just was so much in me from the military that I was so hard on my kids. Everything, get up at this time, make your bed at this time, your closet needs to look like this, your dresser needs to look like that. You have a morning routine, your toothbrush, like everything. To where I was like, these kids are kids. They need to live. I was just taking it way too far, and my kids hated me.
Wow.
My wife was getting upset with, and it's 100% my fault. They deserved. I was not a person that deserved love. I was not a person that deserved to have the father title. I was horrible. To where I didn't cheat on my wife or anything like that.
Yeah.
I just was.
You weren't present.
Yeah.
You were there physically, but you weren't present.
Yeah, I didn't.
I get it 110. So it makes sense why what you do for a living now is spend as much time with your family and kids and wife.
If I can turn back the time of clock, I would, but I can't. So I just got to make up every moment now.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So to anybody who's watching this or hearing this, and you probably come from a military background, or you're struggling to feel human again, what would you tell that person that's coming back from deployment, just like you did, who feels like they're physically there but they're not intentionally there? What is one advice you'll give younger Matt Foreman coming back that is living, but it's not really living. That they're just breathing air, but they're not really present. Well, what is one advice you would give?
The first thing that comes to mind is you're not alone.
Well, it's good.
Because that person is hurting. As strong and as confident as they seem, as much discipline as they have, they're bottling up something or a lot.
Wow.
So tell them they're not alone, that it's okay to talk about it, because more people are in that situation than you think. Military or not, law enforcement, fire guys, EMS, nurses, teachers, you just name an occupation.
Come on.
More people are struggling than you think.
Come on.
And we need to find more things to relate on than to separate us.
Wow.
To where you're obviously not in the military, and I was that, but that doesn't mean we can't have a meaningful conversation about it and get better, right? But if you were in the military, there might be some lingo that you would know that would help us get to that path quicker. But that doesn't tell you to stop or not even try. You know? So one is you're not alone. Is two, try to be vulnerable and talk about it. And that's the reason why I started that gym. And another reason why I started posting more on social media is because I wanted other people to know, as perfect as I might seem, or as humble or as dedicated as I might seem, like I have many imperfections, and I was in a very dark place at multiple times in my life.
Wow.
And I'm still not a perfect person.
Yeah.
I'm still hurting at times.
That's what I love about you, man.
I still have very difficult times that I'm going through in my life, and it's better to go through something with somebody than to go through it alone.
Well, when you were sharing that, I heard in my spirit, I heard you can't relate in culture or language, but you could always relate to people with pain. You could always relate to the pain of feeling alone, the pain of depression, or the pain of anxiety, or the pain of just feeling like no one understands you. So that was real what you said, because I believe there's a lot of viewers and listening that are hearing you say that, and they're like, whoa, I relate to what he's saying. So it's good that you're saying these things, because we live in a world where it's so quick to find what we're not having in common and forgetting what we do have in common.
Yeah, 100%. Life is hard enough, Why make it any harder, talking about the military, there's so many people, I mean, just life itself, so not just the military, so I take that back. So in life in general, like, there's thousands of people who die every day and don't even know it. You don't, how do you plan for death? So, that doesn't sound right. So there's so many people that take for granted that they're going to make it home tonight.
Wow.
That don't. So why hold grudges? Why stew over something longer? Why hold that anger and that hate when you're not guaranteed to make it home tonight? There's no guarantee. There's no guarantee that you're going to sign this paper and say, oh, I'm going to make it home, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, there's no guarantee in life.
No. So in life, the military has taught me that life is so fragile. 18, 19-year-old kids volunteer, one deployment, don't come home. They don't know it. They thought that they were just going to go out and come back. They probably talked to their mom or dad that night before. I'm gonna go on a mission. I'll talk to you when I get back. No. Right? So it's just, I think holding on to that hate is doing yourself and the people that love you a disservice.
Wow.
Because it's turning you into a bad person. You have to let it go, not because other people need it. If you did me wrong, I'm going to forgive you just because I don't want that anger in my heart. Like, it's not worth my time.
It's like drinking poison and hoping somebody else dies, but you're drinking it yourself.
Right. I'm sitting there in it, you know. And there's a lot of veterans that are just holding this hate, whether it's the government or whether it's their platoon sergeant or whatever, it's whoever it is, you know. They're holding on to this hate for too long, and they just need to be able to let it go.
When you were saying that, I was reminded of that scripture in James, the epistle of James. It says, it's not an epistle, it's a verse in the Bible that says that life is but a vapor. And it reminds you of how short life is. So live life joyful, you know. I love what you were saying earlier about why hold that hate in, you know, and let go, let go and love and care and genuine. So I love that. I love that so much. So what you walked through, obviously, in the military has shaped who you are. At some point.
It's definitely changed the trajectory of my life.
Wow. I think it was Jonathan Rosell. I had him here, and he said that who you are as a man is a correlation of your life experiences. It's what you experience as a kid. It's what you experience as an adult. It's what you experience as a teenager. It's what you experience at your job. So it's all those combinations make you who you are. And I'm here as you speak. I'm like hearing you, and I'm like, wow, like you learned from every stage.
Yeah, I would add on to that and say it doesn't make you who you are. It puts the decision. It gives you more information to make a better decision on who you want to be.
Oof, that's good.
You know, because like I said earlier, just because I made a mistake doesn't make me a bad person. It doesn't make me. I decide to be a bad person if I don't learn from that mistake.
Oof, that's so good.
You know what I'm saying? So I think all your past give you more and more information to make a better choice, you know, to be a better person.
Wow.
So
you as you live, the mistakes you make, you have two options: to grow from it or be hindered by it.
Exactly.
Or be labeled by it.
Exactly. And I'm not a big fan of labels because, like, it doesn't matter what everyone else thinks.
Come on.
Right? It just matters on who you know you are. And if you're not learning from your mistakes, you're staying stagnant in that same person. You're not going to change. You might want to, on your insides, you might want to change. You might want to be like that person over there, or you want a better life, but your decisions and how you act is keeping you in that same spot.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
That's so good, dude.
So nothing is going to change unless you change. And the only way you change is learning from your mistakes and being sick of making the mistakes. So just like the gym, when we go to the gym, I always encourage everyone to go, because sooner or later you're going to be sick of failure. You're going to get sick of it. So just keep trying, keep failing, and then sooner or later your direction is more important than the results.
Wow. Say that again for the listeners.
Your direction is more important than the results.
Wow.
So it's more important that you're in the gym or you're trying to be a good person, you're learning. It's more important that you're on that path and you have effort, right, and intensity, than you finishing that book in a record time or you finishing the workout with perfect whatever.
So enjoy the process more than you will enjoy the result you get from the process.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's so good. Oh man, there's so much to unpack on that. I love it. Which it reminds me when one of the things I love that you do at the gym, I hate it and love. It's one of those things that you hate but you love. It's almost like when you put burpees on that whiteboard. I'm like, this guy is crazy.
Yeah.
Is the you always say in the sense of come on, this is the last time you're gonna be in this thing, but enjoy while you're there, or red line it, right? You got it. Come on, finish it.
Make it hurt.
Make it hurt. Yeah, you always say make it hurt. And every time you say that, I'm like, man, if we could enjoy that hurt, rather than letting that hurt define our emotional standard, if we enjoy that hurt, enjoy that process, enjoy that direction you're going in that hurt. You know what I mean? Because you get to choose to turn it around and make it a good reason. Ah, man. See, this is why I love doing these, because I get to sit down and I get to dive into my friend's mind and hear where their wisdom and philosophies come.
Definitely.
That's so good. Enjoy the direction you're going more than the result. Hear that out. Enjoy the direction you're going more than the result. Enjoy that process. Don't be so caught up on the result. You're forgetting the journey. You're forgetting to live out that journey. So good, so good, so good. What wakes you up in the morning? What wakes you up in the morning? What wakes you up with passion, excitement? What wakes Matt Foreman up besides your kids?
Right.
Or the wife, right?
The smell of coffee.
The smell of coffee.
Man, knowing that you guys are depending on me, knowing that you guys are looking at me to set the example, right? So I can't go into the gym, like rubbing my eyes, like, oh, it's horrible. Like, then you guys are gonna that emotion's going to come off on you guys, you know. So just knowing that I am honored with your guys' dependency on. I don't know about dependency, if that's the right word. That's the right word.
It is because we are. To say it clearly, we are dependent of his leadership in the gym. Like and I say we because I believe I can speak for the group of guys that go. We look forward to Matt Foreman's Inferno in the morning. Like we generally ask him whenever he can't make it because of a wrestling tournament or a football game or whatever the situation may be, because he is a man who wears different hats. We text him, hey, could you put a workout in the whiteboard? Hey, could you leave a workout? Because we feed off of your energy, so it's good to hear that. Because sometimes it feels sometimes I'm always afraid that is a burden. But hearing you say that wakes you up lets me know that wow, he sees the role he plays in our lives. That you see that, because we do depend on you, and I love your leadership, man. I think you lead with so much grace and excellence in that gym. I think you bro, you set the tone, man. And I think if anybody, they meet you and they hang around long enough with you, they will see the quality of the individual you are. And it's rare that you find people like you.
I appreciate that. It means a lot coming from you. Thank you.
So it's amazing. It's amazing. So knowing that you have people to lead wakes you up in the morning. That's amazing to hear.
And then, also, just the point of me being gone for so long, I want my kids to be like, that's my dad.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a selfish attitude,
No, man, because you have every right. You want your kids to tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, so I just want to set an example and change what I can change to make their lives better and easier and set them up for success.
Which reminds me of we were doing, I believe it was 7-on-7. No, it was a middle school camp, and I believe Paxton was there. And sweet gig, you guys are doing amazing with your kids. Paxton was there, and I was like, your dad is amazing, right? Your dad is like a superhero. I'm just letting him know, don't take your dad for granted. He's an amazing guy. And he looks at me and he says, your dad is amazing too. And I go, yeah, but your dad, man, he went and served in the, I was trying to like kind of baby him, like, he went and served and protected my dad. My dad just works construction. He was like, your dad is a hero. He builds houses people live in. And I'm like, oh, such a sweet kid. And he was just so amazed of what you do. And I know the quality of a father you are by the way he was trying to compliment me back. Like he was just trying to feed me back the compliments I was giving him, which spoke a lot to me because I see that kindness, that genuineness in you, and you could tell your kids look up to you and they're feeding off of that because you're replicating it through your kids and you're leaving that legacy of love, man, of genuine care.
I appreciate
man,
that.
you're doing good, man.
I think the reason why I preach to my kids all the time is they know I was in the military. They know I was in a combat zone for many years, and they kind of put that on a pedestal. They always were telling people my dad did this, my dad did that, and that's like one of the first things everyone always wants to talk about. But that was a lifetime ago for me, to where, yeah, it played a role in my life, but it's not who I am. And just think of America or the world as like a gear. The military and what I did was just a piece. Teachers have a piece, nurses have a piece, police officers have a piece. You know, everyone in service, every small business owner, right? Trucking, right? What would happen if truckers and shippers didn't want to go to work, right? Everyone has a piece to this gear to keep the gear going, right? So I just did one piece that I wanted to do, you know? And that's what I tell my kids all the time. It's like, that doesn't make me better than anybody else. That doesn't make my career any more honorable than anybody else. You know, every job, every small business owner is, I mean, you talk to them, they're probably stressing out pretty dang bad. Yeah. You know, they have probably sleepless nights on how they're going to pay their employees, how they're going to keep the lights on, you know? So everyone has trials and tribulations that they're going through, no matter the occupation, you know? So I try not to put any occupation on a pedestal, and I want to...
So good.
I want to give them as much information on everything and keep every door open for them so that they can make the best decision that they want to make. I don't want them to try to be who I was. You know, I don't want anyone to be who I was. I want them to be who they are meant to be.
That's so good. That's so good, because I think a lot of times people confuse morals and values as in like careers and occupations. So I love how you separated that, because I see the morals and values you have in your kids, but they're not pressured or made to think that that's what they have to do, but they do carry your morals and values. And I love that how you give them that freedom, like, hey, be what you want to be. And I love that they see your character, your morals and values, and they feed off of that, and they walk with that integrity you have. So I got a few more questions before we wrap this up. Did you ever have a to the brim moment? So a to the brim moment is obviously, this is scriptural. The Bible talks about the first miracle of Jesus. He told these servants at this wedding, he said they'll go fill up these vase jars with water. Their servants came with the jars filled up to the brim. And to me, it's always stood out to me that was like a way of doing things with excellence. So did you ever have an encounter in life that you said, from this moment on, I'm going to do things with excellence? Was it an encounter you had? Was it a upbringing you had? Was it a career? What did you ever have a moment that you said, from this moment on, I'm going to do things with excellence?
I think that there was multiple to the brim moments that I saw and reacted to, but then kind of deviated from the path and needed another one. Wow. You know?
Say that again.
That I needed multiple to the brim. Like, I needed to see it.
Reminders.
Because I would deviate from the path. I would get cocky and arrogant, and then I would need another one.
Wow.
So, like, in the military, obviously, I lost some friends, you would say, and I was really bitter. I got really angry. I didn't know the reason why. I tried to justify it. I got angry at the reason why we were there. Started getting into alcohol, and when we got home, it was seeing my friends as family and seeing how hurt they were, and trying to justify the reason why they were there. Like, I couldn't get there fast enough, you know, or just something. Like, I was just trying to make something up, and just seeing the mom and the dad and the brothers, you know, of all the families, it was, I needed to live for them now. I needed to make a life. It was my duty to live a life worth living for their sacrifice. That was my job.
Wow.
So that was kind of one of my to the brim moments. But, I got on the path. I wanted to be a better person, but depression and alcohol set in again, and I needed another to the brim moment. So where alcohol was just kind of taking over my life at one time when I was in the military, because I was surrounded by Marines. And if anyone knows Marines, they love to drink alcohol. And we all masked all of our problems through alcohol. And all the problems that we had, everybody had some form of, when you get in those combat units or the infantry units, when we were in, everyone has seen combat. Everyone's been shot at. Everyone's been in the vicinity of an IED. Everyone has lost friends. So you think it's normal.
Wow.
So the depression is normal. Drinking as soon as you wake up is normal. Like being an introvert and how do you say it? So many people, when they get out of the military, they go hide. They want to go get a cabin in the woods, and they want to shut themselves away from the normal society.
Yeah.
And that's normal. You see how many veterans are doing that. And my to the brim moment was, I was getting such bad depression. I was almost killing myself. I was killing myself. Whether it was through the alcohol, the no sleep, the random pills that the VA's given me, and I needed a reality check that this isn't where I want, and my wife had to give it to me, that this isn't the life that God intended. I was meant for more.
Wow.
So I have my life to thank. My wife deserves everything for bringing me out of that hole. She didn't have to do it, because I was in a horrible place. At that time, I've lost a lot of my friends. There's a couple times to where in a vehicle, I got switched out of a vehicle, and that vehicle was hit and that person died. And the other people lost their legs. That was my vehicle. How survivor's guilt, I guess. That was supposed to be me. Why wasn't it me? Or how come I couldn't get there faster?
Huh.
And all these thoughts just compiled. And I was just an introvert. I was shutting them and bottling them up to where I didn't want to talk about it. No one would understand where I'm coming from. Excuse after excuse, to where my wife went to the depths of the ocean for me and saved me.
And she gave you a to the brim moment.
Yeah.
Where you were from this moment on, I'm going to change the way I behave, change the way I act. I'm going to learn from these mistakes, and I'm going to walk and live different.
Yeah.
So good, man. I love that. One more question before we wrap this up. And I want you guys who are listening, I want you to share this, subscribe, because I believe a lot of people need to hear this. I believe a lot of people's lives will be changed and impacted through what Matt is sharing. I got a question for you, which is switch it up a little bit. Do you rely on habits or discipline? And it is a trick question.
Right. I really enjoy that question, because you can have bad habits. I had bad habits, which almost killed me, right?
Yeah.
So you have to have good habits. And in order to have good habits, you need to have discipline, right? You need to be disciplined to not take the easy path. Oh, a donut feels good. Taking a day off the gym feels good. One more drink of alcohol will be good. You need to have the discipline to say no.
Whoa.
You need to have the discipline to understand that, well, first you need to have the discipline to set goals. Then you need to have the discipline and the right mindset to do everything possible and prioritize your life and time to meet those goals. You know, so discipline has to be better, or the right choice. But like we said before, I think your direction is you have to be headed in the right direction before you can even talk about that stuff.
Talk about discipline, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like if you're not ready to receive the information, you're never going to receive it. You coach, right? There's so many kids, like, if you would just do it this way, that will greatly benefit you. Whether it's a O-lineman or a receiver, quarterback, whatever it is. Or even in life, if you have a younger brother or a kid, if they're not ready to receive that information,
they're not going to receive it.
They're not going to receive it. So you need to be morally mature enough to have the discipline. Wow. You know? So just like taking it back another step even further is try to have an open mindset, like Bruce Lee always says, with the cup of water, right? You know, like be able to mold, be able to change, or even have an empty cup to where someone else, like we have this conversation, you're pouring into my cup. I'm taking what you're saying, and I'm genuinely listening to it and trying to learn from it. So I don't know everything, right? So having the discipline to know that you don't know everything.
That's so good. Having the discipline to know you do not know everything.
Right? And be able to change, be able to mold, especially in times like this when technology is so prevalent, right? So, man, being able to mold, being able to change, and have the discipline enough to be able to adapt and overcome any situation, right? So it's just, man, life can be pretty difficult. So having the discipline to keep moving forward regardless of the obstacles.
So discipline is what you will rely on. That's so good. Well, thank you. Thank you for coming out here. Thank you for making time and sitting here at To The Brim, sharing your story, sharing life lessons and principles that describe excellence. And I want you guys to remember that excellence produces a foundation where failure and success are equal. It's not about the success, it's about aiming with excellence. Like Matt said earlier, that direction is more important than the end result. The result is going to come, but the direction going towards that way is important. Thank you, Matt. Thank you for coming out here. Subscribe, like, and share, comment. I want to hear feedback. He wants to hear feedback. I want to hear from you guys. Like, share, and subscribe. See you guys next week. Stay blessed, stay encouraged.
Thank you.